Welcome to Sorter TV. I'm Vaishali Jain. We're excited to have Jesse Jackson join us today. Jesse is Chief Learning Officer at JP Chase. He's got over 25 years of experience, and he's here to tell us more about challenges and trends in the learning and development industry. Jesse, thank you so much for joining us today.
Truly delighted to be here with you today.
Thank you. So you've been with JP for about 25 years now, and today you are Chief Learning Officer. Tell us about your career and your journey to get to where you are today.
As I think about my career and my journey, as you've put it, I term it as the accidental career, in as much as I joined the firm via a management development program, really with a focus on doing general management. As I've had the opportunity to be in several management opportunities, the offer of interviewing for a Chief Learning Officer role emerged, and it emerged at a very interesting time when we were doing some work within the firm to really position us for some of the challenges of this digital economy. And as a result of the roles that I was in, the experiences really positioned me as a consumer for learning, particularly going through not just a management development program, but a credit training program. I really had an insider's view to how we delivered learning within our organization and our consumer business as well as in our commercial business. And after going through several interviews, really was privileged to be selected to help drive our learning culture forward in the context of the Consumer and Community Banking Group.
So tell us a little bit about your role as Chief Learning Officer and what some of your responsibilities are.
As I think about my role as a Chief Learning Officer, it really is focused on one thing, and that is to increase the organization's capacity for performance, and doing that, the human capital that we have within the organization. We are very fortunate to have very talented individuals within JP Chase, and our ability within the learning organization is really to understand what their needs are to ensure that we can compete very effectively in this very dynamic economy that we work in.
Now, a lot of leaders fail to articulate the learning and development value proposition and its importance to stakeholders. Can you share some ideas of how leaders can do this?
I certainly would agree. As we think about the articulation as well as the illustration of the value proposition of learning, we really try to ensure that there is a commercial focus for what it is we do, that commercial focus is fully aligned with the key performance indexes of each one of the businesses that we support within the Consumer Community Banking Group. That allows us to work with key leaders in the business and to provide very good illustrations and traceability in terms of the work we're doing in the learning organization and how that work is making us more competitive, making us more regulatory compliant, and allowing us to serve our customers in a much more customized and effective manner.
Is that the success that you've had in terms of being able to articulate it to your stakeholders and the leaders that you work with?
So certainly in the context of our learning organization, we believe that there's no finish line with respect to attaining success, that it is really about the journey and our ability to articulate that value proposition that the learning organization delivers in a way that illustrates that commercial value to the performance objectives of our bankers within the business, as well as other constituents that we serve, we believe has helped to differentiate our ability to deliver value and illustrate that in a very clear and concrete way to key leaders within the firm.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that Chief Learning Officers and learning leaders are grappling with in today's business environment?
In many respects, we believe the challenges that Chief Learning Officers are grappling with, that I'm grappling with, are really the same that all of our leaders within our organization are grappling at, or other leaders more broadly. And it really has to do with the pace of change that we see within our economy today. Much of that change is driven by the technological structures that we have, but that technology is truly driving consumer behavioral change in terms of how they consume information, transactions, and other services. But it doesn't stop there. It's also the regulatory environment and really ensuring that, one, we understand it and we deliver against it in a very effective way. And it's also our competitive environment. So as I think about the challenges we have, I really think about them very broadly, about the velocity of change that's impacting us, the drivers of that change, and what that means as a Chief Learning Officer in terms of being able to be responsive, adaptive, and truly drive value in a very assertive but responsive way across a global organization.
How do you prioritize, as Chief Learning Officer, how do you prioritize what's important when you're developing or rolling out various learning programs then?
The beauty of prioritization is when you do have alignment with the business units, you really understand what's important to our senior leaders, what's important to that banker speaking to a customer today in one of our branches or on the phone in one of our call centers, and really ensuring that we're making their job as easy, making their job as effective, as regulatory compliant as possible, and having learning focus that truly is aligned to the key performance indexes of the business really enhances our ability to prioritize our book of work in a way that really is aligned with where our leaders want to go and delivering it when they want to get there. So that type of partnership, that type of teamwork, the collaboration between the learning function and each one of our businesses helps us have very effective prioritization protocols.
Many Chief Learning Officers also are grappling with the challenges of engaging the next generation of the workforce. Can you talk about what some of those challenges are?
Sure, and in many respects, we view that challenge as an opportunity, and we view it as an opportunity because as we look at these generational employees, we understand that they truly are, consumers of this new media, and it truly enhances our ability to have much more flexibility in terms of how we touch them via blended learning approaches. And as we think about the growing composition of millennials, it really also empowers us to ensure that we have both a mobile as well as a digital strategy that allows us to meet our employees where they want to be met in terms of the consumption of learning, that it doesn't have to always take place within the four walls of a classroom, that we really can provide them the flexibility and fluidity that they want in their life to do things on the weekend and the evenings, etc. So as a Chief Learning Officer, our ability to, one, really understand our employees and to customize our offerings in a way that is acceptable to them in a way that they're used to consuming media really allows us even more flexibility than we've had in the past in terms of grappling with these challenges of change in terms of both the amount as well as the velocity of it.
How much classroom training do you do today versus maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago?
So from a percentage perspective, we really are doing less. And one of our key focuses is really to enhance our digital capabilities, both in terms of having a digital studio where we can film our executives, film our subject matter experts, and really bring that type of instruction, that type of engagement to our employees at their desk, via their digital devices, and really allow us to catalog that and inventory it so they can consume it when and where they want to. So as a percentage matter, we believe that that will continue to trend towards these digital modalities as we think about being able to grapple with the changes that we're facing and do that both in a very impactful but also a very efficient and effective manner.
Tell us how you're approaching your digital strategy, your digital learning strategy at JP Morgan Chase?
In many respects, we're approaching our digital learning strategy as we approach everything, and that really is understanding at a granular level who our employees are, how they want to consume learning, but equally important, what are those key elements that we want to deliver, and understanding how we can use a blended learning model to really ensure that we're not just delivering that learning, but we're assessing the comprehension of it as well as the effectiveness of it. So as we think about blended learning, we're really trying to optimize all of the digital channels we have, pushing elements to individuals when we know they have some downtime, in a way to allow them to really consume that without the challenge of the multitasking that we all do today at our desk. But equally important, also ensuring that we're inventorying and cataloging that material and offering our employees direct links to it or access to it through our learning management system. So when they have time, they can access that learning, but also incorporating elements like badges and certifications to ensure that we really are incenting and recognizing the importance of learning and helping our managers help us continue to foster a culture of learning, a culture of truly lifelong and continuous engagement with learning.
And for many years, and it's still the case, learning programs were pushed down to employees by leaders. Today, we're also seeing a lot more engagement of learning by the employees themselves. So they decide on what it is that they should be learning or what they want to learn. Are you seeing more of this happening in organizations?
We certainly are, and we view it really as this intellectual curiosity that whether it's Gen X or millennials have in terms of wanting to become proficient at what it is they do, but also exploring different topics. And part of what we're attempting to do is really be more of a curator. We not just develop learning assets within the framework of our four walls at JP Morgan Chase, but what we're also doing is working with key partners to provide insights and information to our employees and or making it available to them to satisfy some of this intellectual curiosity. We work with major universities in order to provide that learning, but really try to curate it in a way that doesn't require our employees to spend a lot of time searching to identify elements that would be informative and or accretive to the work that they're doing, as well as their career trajectory.
Tell us how you're seeing organizations use digital learning today versus just a few years ago. What are some of the biggest changes that you're seeing?
It's very interesting because I see a lot of organizations doing a lot of experimenting, which really is good in terms of being able to learn via industry partnerships that we have with many of the leading corporate learning organizations. But we're also finding that some of the more effective learning modalities is, what I term edutainment, where we're really trying to make these learning assets fun. And some of the ways we're doing that is via gamification, via the incorporation of just standard videos, but making it more light in terms of how we're communicating the key concepts as well as the key learning points. So really thinking about our work not just as narrow as learning, but really trying to ensure that we're leveraging these digital capabilities to enrich not just the learning, but the experience that individuals are having. So we've really moved to a process where we're trying to develop a continuum where there are learning experiences that individuals have, that those experiences are truly strung together in a way that illustrates the investment we're making in our employees' proficiency within their job, but also in their ability to enhance their career trajectory with the firm or elsewhere.
Tell us how important design thinking is to learning and development in the digital age?
This concept of design thinking in many respects has really blown up in terms of its awareness, but I would argue that design thinking has always been sort of a critical concept of what anyone does. And as we think about design thinking in the context of learning, it is really at the center because the concept of design thinking really puts the client or the employee at the center. And it ensures that, one, we understand that employee at a very granular level, the demographics of them, how they want to consume learning, but it also requires us to really understand what are the key objectives of that learning objective and ensuring that we're weaving it into the various blended learning modalities that we may deliver in a way that really is consumable by the employee over time. So this notion of design thinking, I believe it will only become more critical, and those organizations that are able to truly leverage and optimize those concepts really will be able to ensure they are differentiating the effectiveness of the human capital within their organizations and truly increasing their organization's ability to perform.
What are some effective digital strategies that you've implemented within the organization?
So there's a number of digital strategies that we've implemented, but some are very simple. We have a term that the real innovation is simplicity, and part of what we've attempted to do is really, one, consolidate our capabilities around a singular learning management system. In the past, we've had multiple. That has allowed us to really bring more rigor to our design guides and really ensuring that whether employees are consuming learning assets that are part of their professional development or consuming learning assets that are part of our regulatory agenda or technical agenda, that there's a common look, feel, navigation scheme for those assets, that employees really understand how to move through them in an effective and thoughtful way, whether that consumption is done at their desk or at home. And then additionally, we've recently introduced a mobile app that can be leveraged on an iPad or an iPhone that allows individuals to download learning assets and take them with them on the go, with respect to that hour commute that they may have at home or coming in the morning and then syncing that back up with our learning management system to mark them complete. Those type of efforts really deliver more employee experiences in a very better but in a very customized way. And I think our employees appreciate that. But equally important, I think the learning in those situations really evidence a more effective comprehension as well.
So how do you measure the success of your learning programs?
The beauty with measuring success, particularly when you start out with business-aligned objectives, really allows us to ensure that the outcomes that we're attempting to get, whether it's behavioral alignment or behavioral change, are aligned with what our business is measuring with respect to their key performance indexes. So it really means that we have one scorecard. To the extent that we're originating a learning program, we really want to ensure that we understand exactly what the business is looking to accomplish by virtue of that exercise, and ensuring that that is measurable. And our KPIs are the business KPIs. So really having pulled through as a result of the size of our organization and the law of large numbers, we can over time measure a learning effectiveness in a very empirical way that shows us that we're able to better serve our consumers and do that in a more regulatory compliant manner. And we believe by doing that, we continue to differentiate our organization in the face of many competitors that are doing very similar things than we're doing within our marketplaces.
Jesse, this was great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much as well. I hope it was informative.
It was very informative. And we'll see you next time on Sarder TV.